Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Mint Corporate Strategy Awards honored performance excellence. An elaborate methodology was deployed for identifying most qualified companies in 4 categories, namely classical, adaptive, shaping and renewal. The awards were followed by a riveting panel discussion moderated by Neeraj Aggarwal, Senior Partner and Managing Director, BCG, with the winners from different categories.
We have a chance to have a bit of a fireside chat with all the winners. You know, your sector, steel, has been in a very tough environment over the last few years, right? Rather many years, if I may, right? Against that environment, Tata Steel has really differentiated itself. What gave you the confidence, and what are the 1 or 2 things you did which you thought differentiated yourself from the others?
I think there are some things which we started maybe 10 or 12 years ago, which we backed ourselves, whereas probably almost no other steel company did in India, which was to look at the retail side of steel and how to organize the retail marketing of steel on the same lines as a fast-moving consumer goods company would do, though the good is not a fast-moving consumer item in steel. So this is an area where a lot of hard work is required. We learned from consumer product industries. We held seminars and invited Unilever and the paints industries and others, learned also from the pharmaceutical industries as to how to manage influencers and so on. And I think we built a capability over a long period of time, and this has paid off because revenues from the retail side of steel industry are quite insulated from upstream upheavals. So this has given us a basic sort of revenue stability even during long downturns. So this was one element of strategy which has paid off during the downturn.
So you have this iconic product that you have within the company, right? Which has always been the heartstopper for many of us. But I think from a small, humble beginnings or somewhat modest beginnings, it's taken on a whole new shape. What changed that? What caused it to happen?
I think in your question is probably part of the answer. We were a very small brand, a small business called Royal Enfield. We used to sell a few bullets. We were barely making money to break even. But every single person in the company was involved at a very deep level in, for example, even our CEO Siddharth. The story is now well documented, but he was the marketing manager, the brand manager, the product manager, the factory manager, the CRM manager on the same day. And what it means is that there's a deep-rooted connect with consumers, our community, our product, which is not normal. It's not something that I've spent 20 years in another company, and I know that that's a very fine organization, but this deep intimacy with everything, product, people, community, is deeply steeped even today. We've become large. I don't think too many people know that, and we don't document it and we don't talk about it. We are the fastest growing automotive company in the world. We are the most profitable automotive company in the world. We are gaining 100 bips of market share in India every year. So we are growing consistently, competitively, profitably every single year. But we don't talk about that because our biggest metric is our size of our community around the world. And we are deeply engaged even today. And our basic mantra is in your question, which is still remain small in terms of how you engage at a disaggregated level of one motorcycle sale. So we still get very happy when we sell one motorcycle every day. We are selling over 800,000 motorcycles. A few years ago, we were selling less than 100,000. But our mindset remains that let's do what we do better. Let's not do new things. Let's do what we do already very good, every single day a little better. That's really what we're doing. So our mantra or strategy is less is more, be fiercely unique, stick to your knitting. I know this is a strategy discussion, but we are a very passionate bunch of storytellers living in this incubated motorcycle industry. We are basically storytellers, and our motorcycles tell a story every day. The rest is all there for you to see. But we serve motivations. We don't serve motorcycles. We are a motivations company. We sell a lot of motorcycles through it. That's really our approach.
What are the, in your mind, the top two things you're doing to navigate through this change? What's keeping, your secret sauce going?
First key thing that we at Tata Sky always try to remember is keep your ears to the ground. Listen to every beat that the consumer, the subscriber has to say, be it a complaint, be it a happy thing. Hear them out. There is a latent need that they have. See if you can bring that out in the form of a service or servicing. The other thing that we always keep in mind is that it's not just selling a connection. It's about owning that person and servicing that person forever. It's not about how much more and upgrading you can do to the person, but it's about he or she does not know the next thing that's going to happen in entertainment. It's our responsibility to be able to understand what they're going to end up liking and provide that. So we try to, understand their latent requirements and then make something happen for them accordingly. So I think those are two key things that we'd always work towards as a service provider.
Ashish, I'm going to come to you. You've had an amazing run in the last few years in a sector which, as I called, is fundamentally getting reshaped, in a sector which is unleashing many aspirations of individuals. Tell us a little bit about, your differentiators.
First things first, as our CEO Rajiv Jain says, we believe in strategy in action. It is not strategy in isolation. And in fact, he goes on to say that I can leave my strategy deck, on a flight, catch it, but you got to be able to execute it. So, in an open architecture era, in an open information democratization era, strategy per se is, yes, a competitive advantage, but only when backed by very strong execution. Our strategy at Bajaj Finance overall has a few very critical components which has shaped the way we have built this company. The first comes the shareholder. Let's admit it, the reason for existence for businesses is to generate profit and create wealth. And therefore, we believe in doing profitable business. The second is that you generate those profits only by offering the right product at the right time to the right customer. Customer is the one who gives us those profits, and therefore we have been customer-centric in all our offerings in our sector and have played a small role in the way we have been transforming the lives around us, and therefore playing a part in the way our sector is getting reshaped. The third component is people who make the strategy. They have been our valuable capital. That is an important aspect of what we nurture to get the best strategy out of it. And last but not the least is, as I said, the execution. We were the ones who pushed for a lot of use of analytics and technology and operations excellence. And these, coupled with our franchise data, has actually unleashed a humongous power of offering right product to the right customer and generating profits.
So I want you to think about one message which you like to share with the audience about if they were to learn from you, what's the one learning you'll give them? Just a simple one message. It could be passion, it could be storytelling, it could be analytics, but just one message from your side. And the one thing that continues to worry you, however well you may have performed, and obviously you performed incredibly well to be here, but one thing that you still worry about as you think about the next few years of the company.
The message to the audience from our side at Bajaj Finance would be that India is a huge market. It's on the cusp of transformation as the per capita income in India crosses $2,000. The inflection point across categories are about to get unleashed. for this huge population, you have to be ambitious and draw up strategies that are really ambitious in nature. So that's the positive side message. Nothing on flip side is just that the last mile in India still continues to be the most difficult one, which is what separates great strategy presentations to great P&Ls. And you, while you draw up ambitious plans, back it up with the last mile execution.
Okay, Ashish, so well spoken. Big market if you can unleash it, but get the last mile right. Okay.
I think often I hear the words customer, consumer, owner, buyer, and I think we must realize that all of these are very transactional terminologies. And in it lies a fundamental flaw of myopia. I think it'll be good to just understand people and their motivations, because then you are not encapsulated in categories, industries. Royal Enfield is unlocking explorers around the world. We believe that our motorcycles, every time you ride, it unlocks a certain sense of self-expression and exploration. Where that takes us in terms of industries over the next 50 years is to be seen. Right now, we sell tons of motorcycles. Our pure motorcycling platform allows for people to start believing in themselves a little bit and do things which pushes themselves to their full potential. And we just are an ally. We don't talk down to people. So I think look at people instead of customers, consumers. What keeps me awake, or what keeps us awake, is I think a lot more can be done in terms of road safety. Infrastructure is building, but acumen, motorcycles, vehicles are becoming powerful. But I don't think everything else is catching up with that. So I think my concern is I think we can all do much more in terms of basic acumen that will prevent everyday road accidents and deaths happening. That's an alarming number right now in India.
Would you want to go next?
Yeah, so from our experience in the steel industry, I don't know to what extent it is applicable to others, but some of the lessons, or one of the lessons we learned was that execution is a big issue because steel plants typically take around 3 to 4 years to build. They are highly capital intensive, so there's a huge pressure to build as fast as possible. But at the same time, returns take some time to come. So the focus on execution has to be very strong. And this is something which has been a concern for us, and it will continue to be something to watch out for in the future as well. So I think this is the biggest challenge we face. And all our learnings are, most of our learnings are also around how to improve the ability to focus on what is really the main thing in getting the job done over a long, and trying to crash the period from a long period to as short as possible.
So that brings me to you.
So I know while you said not to talk term ourselves as consumers and subscribers, but all of us here are consumers and subscribers. So one thing that I want to leave back is as consumers and subscribers, please be more demanding to the sector that we belong to, because we are all consumers of media. It keeps us on toes to get you the best innovation, the best of technologies, and bring it to your door front altogether. That's something that should keep us going all the time, and that gives us a long-term perspective. So that's something I want to leave with as a word back. What keeps us worrying at this point of time is the geographical stretch that India is, the reach which is yet not out there to every nook and corner of the country, who deserves to have media, entertainment, news at as important as infrastructure is to them, and we're still not able to reach those nooks and corners yet. So that's a little bit of a concern that we always look forward to know how to tackle that.
In what form, the shape, do you think, if we look forward to the next decade, right? I'm always passionate about the fact that all of you have done incredibly well in setting a gold standard in your respective archetypes. How far do you think in next decade we will see Indian companies being talked about in the same breath as the Microsofts, the Googles? I mean, I don't care about the sector, but I'm just companies which are truly the gold standard, which everybody vouches by. Are we, with the advent of so much success, with the advent of technology, with the advent of India becoming a more bigger addressable market, will we start seeing that?
I think the fundamental principle that I remind ourselves, and we all remind ourselves, is that be positively paranoid. If the pace of change outside your organization is faster than the pace of change within your organization, at some point in time, the end is near. And that should keep us always figuring out to be a little better every single day. I think, for example, in your context of India, I think one of the key things that's going to happen is when people actually figure out what artificial intelligence can do, despite the sort of wisdom that is currently there, I think is still broken. I think there's going to be a tremendous need for India, if it has to sustain its productivity, to figure out how to reskill very large set of people around the country. I don't think we have figured even the beginnings of that change that is around us. And I don't know who will do it, but normally, in my view, there are two types of companies or businesses. One who try to hold on, and the others who figure out that what they are holding on to is already redundant. So usually it's the new set of companies and businesses that will hopefully innovate. For me, if there's one thing that I've been sort of thinking about, is that who's really thinking of this large-scale reskilling of the service sector that's going to be required, because there will be large-scale redundancy and reskilling required.
So all of you have cracked India, right? I mean, that gives you the license to be the global trailblazers, doesn't it?
Sure. I mean, as far as Indian companies becoming world leaders is concerned, we already do have some examples, right? Bajaj, Hero Honda are world-class motorcycle manufacturers on scale front, right? Airtel would have highest number of mobile connections, among the highest in the world, right? So there are strategies emerging, riding on especially mobile as a device and mobility as a concept, which are allowing Indian companies, if they can think through the solution, to override the difficulties of the last mile and hence crack this humongously populous country, which can unleash the power of the population. In our own humble way, we have been trying to ride on the available technologies to overcome the difficulties of the last mile. Any company who does that consistently in the next 1 decade should be able to surge ahead in terms of being a leader on count terms and then crack it on value terms later.
I want to thank all the panelists for candidly sharing their thoughts, and I hope the audience found a few ideas to take home with. Thank you very much.
Thank you.